everything that is experienced by any individual in the world of form, which is within time and space, is always perfect. That's how it generally gets done. You do one shot, one take, completely raw. Probably what the people want, with full integrity and rawness and all of it. I want to talk to you today then, in a wonderful, beautiful environment in Norway. It's currently summer, a bit over 20 degrees, a nice warm breeze, and I have gotten adequate sun today, so I'm sitting in the shade relaxing, reading. And as I read, this is the current book I'm reading, The Eye of Dyre, or one of the books I'm reading. I'm also reading Tao again, because it's fun and nice, and it's a lot of joy in it. But I'm currently reading The Eye of the Eye, from which nothing is hidden, from David R. Hawkins, which is the second book in the series. Power versus Force is first, then we have this, and then comes I, Reality and Subjectivity. So I'm in the final stage of the book, where it's not just direct theory. I do theory like this because it's super subjective, as everything is here. Everything, really. When we talk about radical subjectivity and what reality actually is, I guess it's defined within spirituality and also metaphysicism. Both probably align with it. I'll correct myself in editing. Because fact check stuff, it's good. I want to be as, well, not as correct, but as honest and integral as possible. Which is part of what this channel is dedicated to. It's dedicated to truth, the ceasing of human suffering and upliftment of all of mankind via my subjective experience of reality and life. There's all my experiences because I've done some silly stuff. And I'm here to share what I've learned from doing so with you. So you don't have to do silly stuff. You can if you want to, of course. But some of the stuff you don't want to do. Regardless. It's a tendency. When the speakingness happens, a lot of it comes. So I wanted to read a part for you. What part was it? So, if you've never read anything from David R. Hawkins, this is like really, it's kind of advanced, or advanced way of understanding reality, or a really spiritual frame on everything. It's really subjective, which he claims that everything is subjective, which from my personal experience is becoming more and more true. It's probably true, but there's no probability, so it is true. And what I've been experiencing from reading his work is, well, we talk about levels of consciousness. And as last year for me, if it's correct, it's subjective, and it's a bit bizarre if it's correct. But it might be. But my consciousness level, or this lifetime, deed, or whatever you want to refer to it as, has gone from 500 to I'm now at 1,000. It sounds super silly, I know. But I can test it. Because there's no ego left. If this is the case, I'm just sharing a perspective and experience here that I'm having. But I felt it die and it dissolved. So the ego mind is gone. There is no thinkingness, there's just silence. Which by my other reader would be presence of God. So there is just silence. The thinkingness, the mind, it's dissolved. I've confirmed as much as you can confirm something subjectively with kinesiology from the Par versus Force book, and how John Diamond taught it in behavioral kinesiology, which David R. Hawkins then introduced in Par versus Force. So, yeah, I don't want to claim being enlightened or anything along those lines because it's silly. There is nothing to claim. There is just beingness and one is, and that is all. And the statement, I am, if you use capital I, is powerful, to say the least. So I've gone from 500 to 1,000, apparently, from this view. It is not my view, it is a view. And I can check with kinesiology really easy for you. So, firstly, I have permission to ask this, resist. I'm dedicated to the utmost truth, resist. My hands, I am yours, God. I am dedicated to the upliftment of all of mankind and to truth, resist. This lifetime, which the world refers to as Dyre, calibrates at 1000, resist. So yeah, this is like max output force from my arm, and I'm trying to press it down. So another example, I don't want to use that. That's not a good idea. That's not an idea, frankly. So I'll just use a really historical figure which everyone knows. So Hitler is calibrated at 50. Well, I'll just use that because the threshold of integrity is 200 and pro-life is 200. Everything below is non-pro-life, non-love. Well, it's not non-love, it's just diminishing degrees of love. Hitler calibrates at 200. And it goes like that when it's a no answer. Dyre calibrates at 1000. I have to reference that, of course. So this is all in respect to David R. Hawkins' map of consciousness from 0 to 1000, 200 being the point of integrity. Dyre calibrates at 1000, and it goes strong. Now it might seem bizarre that this happens, but Hitler did. Yeah. So it's apparently 1000. So how do I feel about it? Well, how I got here is I just surrender everything. Or how this lifetime got here, or how I got here. Is I just surrendered everything to God. Everything that pops up, like I talked about in the other video. How to transcend your mind. I literally just surrendered everything to God. Because throughout my teenage years I've been suffering a lot from my mind. I thought that what the mind told me about others, or all the things it, like hypothetical scenarios of anticipating the future or past, or bring up a memory or whatever, which was false, that was correct, and that with an incredibly poor self-image and a lack of self-worth is quite diminishing, to say the least. That was not fun. So that was what I suffered from a multitude of years, really. All the way since I was probably 14, 15, up until Well, it ceased when I was 22 completely. And like I talked about in other video, from 21, 22, 23, 24, 20, 22, 20, 23, 20, 24, the suffering ceased more and more as I developed myself forcefully through trading. Because I really wanted to understand and get trading. So how does one do that when one is in a position where one has no control over themselves and has this incredibly distorted worldview from the ego? Well, it simply was me being forced to work on myself to understand and get trading, so I could do that profitably. So it really is just a perfection of unfoldment of karma when you look at it in retrospect and how it went. So fast forward to now, and this year I really read really specific books like the Master Key System first, then the Kybalion. Then I jumped to Power versus Force. I've already read the Tao previously before those. Then Power versus Force. Then a bit of the Tao again, and now the Eye of the Eye. And throughout that, really, development or progression or self-improvement or whatever you want to refer to it as, from the work of David R. Hawkins, I spotted the ego, and it started dissolving, and all the spiritual work really took a life of its own. It was not. There was no doer, and the doingness just happened in of itself. So the small I, the ego, dissolved over time because there never was a separation between a doer and something that gets done. So this thing just, the spiritual work literally just took a life of its own. So I became a witness of what occurred, literally. I could see that happen. And that just became bigger and bigger, in bigger and bigger degrees, as all of reality started to dissolve as I knew it, from the ego perspective, and how the world views itself generally now. From this perspective, clearly from my subjective perspective, of how I'm currently looking at reality and the world. Which by itself is of course subject to change. It's just me. Not even me, but you understand what I want to convey. Me speaking this of what is being experienced and seen. Because the awareness of that is aware, which is consciousness, is I. But all the else is, well, that realization of even that came from this, of me just seeing, okay, the body moves out of its own spontaneity all of a sudden. I could clearly see that there is no will behind these actions. It's a body, an animal moving. Eller, jeg snakker om boka. Det er gøy.
Ja, så gøy.
Ja. Hei, mamma. So the spiritual work really just took a life of its own. So I just saw through that illusion really clearly that it was not low capital I doing anything. It was it trying to take credit out of what happened out of the spontaneity of the body. I think the Buddha talked about it, and David R. Hawkins as well talked about it in his subjective experience, where it's like this split second of, well, the body does this, for example. And then the ego mind tries to take out, well, I did that. I said it would do this, and I commanded it, right? And you just snap it and know it for what it is. That it never did or aided anything. And it was really always the source of the suffering. So that, in accordance with all the other things, it literally just took a life of its own. So it's just karma fulfilling itself again to bring whatever it wants into existence and out of it. Not that there is actual death, but again, I'm using this language to convey a message to you. And who is trying to correct that? Well, surrender that too. And then it's gone. So it took a life of its own, yes. And the consciousness level of me just continued to expand. Recall that this is just within the framework of what I'm experiencing within reading these books and existing within that realm of this map of consciousness is relevant and relative and subjective, of course. We're trying out this frame of mind, but it's not even a frame of mind because the mind is solved, so it's a frame of, I want to say spirit, because I think that the spirit is the one that contemplates. Maybe that's completely off, but I think that's more correct than saying, well, the mind thinks after it's dissolved. That doesn't make, well, none of this makes sense, but that doesn't even make sense to make sense. But that's the thing, why is it even wanting to speak about these things? I don't know. It's just doing it. So I'm doing it. The intention is to share and help and spread love and joy. That is the intention. And I want to help and cease the suffering of what I've endured. And so you don't have to endure the same thing. So I guess that is why it's speaking. And now the body gets emotional by it. But, okay. Let's remain within the framework and say, well, okay, I calibrate at 1000. What did I gain from doing all of this spiritual work? Because it wasn't work for me, it was just fun, but it was never me doing anything either, it just happened. I think, before I preface that, I think if something just happens out of the spontaneity of itself, how is that not perfect? The recognition and realizations I've come to from reading this and using David R. Hawkins' experience to really self-improve myself, even though it doesn't matter if you calibrate at 200 or 500 or 1000 or whatever, it's completely irrelevant. It's not better or worse than anything. It's just different. What everything that is experienced by any individual in the world of form, which is within time and space, is always perfect. Because karma is simply unfolding itself perfectly to balance existence and the world. Somebody kills someone else, that has karmic consequences. Someone saves a life, that has karmic consequences. All actions that we do or anyone does have a consequence. Don't get me wrong, there's no cause and effect there within the world of form. I really don't think so. With kinesiology, you get no, it's no cause and effect. So we keep in that perspective, as that is the perspective I'm talking about with these frameworks. There's no cause and effect. There's not this causing and that. Your actions have consequences. Yes. Yes, they do. Karmically in any way. And whatever you experience here in the world of form is a consequence of what you've done. A topic I'm then thinking about a lot is then free will. Because with kinesiology, you test and free will ain't the thing. It's just karmic perfection and fullness, so your destiny is always set. But with intention and with the spontaneity of what you're experiencing by itself, you're automatically creating your own destiny. So it doesn't make any sense what I just said. But that's how it works. I think. That's a fact. Yeah. So it's a really confusing concept because it contradicts itself. But it's how it's works. Karma fulfills itself, so there is no free will, but the free will is still experienced by the experiencer, because out of spontaneity arises these thoughts and everything that you individually experience and interact with the world, and your actions thus have consequences when the actions and all of that had already been predetermined. And that's also a fact. Yeah. Not that I know anything. Yeah, I really want to preface that too, that I'm not trying to talk from a position of knowing anything. I know, but I don't know about anything. Nobody does, really. No one. So I don't want to stand up and be like on a hierarchy. I want to be really level-headed with you and with true friends having a conversation about spirituality, and I'm sharing my experience from reading this book. Pokemon cards are still there. That is all. That's all that's really going on here. I'm sharing my subjective experience from reading a work from an author, which is past, in worldly terms. And I'm trying to share my subjective experience with you, so you might learn something or recognize something or improve yourself. Because fundamentally that's why we choose goodness and virtue. Because we want to improve ourselves, improve our world, improve and create happiness and joy and love, really. So, as I said, speakingness occurs and then I get off topic, but it's kind of on topic because it's happening. Then it is on topic. Continue. So, what are the abilities? I call it abilities because that's sure what it feels like. Did I get from reaching 1,000 or ego dissolving? Mind is silent. Throughout my life, I've suffered from my mind a lot. Throughout my teenage years and everything. Which was self-suffering because it was me thinking the mind is real when it clearly is not. It's dissolved. It doesn't exist. It never existed. In radical subjectivity and metaphysicism, that is correct. In the world of forms, that's incorrect, but it's not reality. So when that dissolved, what happened? Mind got silent. Or what you would refer to as mind got silent. There's no thinkingness anymore. I will note that I still have programming in mind, so certain things might come up if I do a specific action, but that is then of the ego mind, and I surrender that to and I release it over time. So when that is done too, the programming is done, and then it's just like pew, silence. What is left? Can I still think? Of course, but it wouldn't be thinking. Here is what I referred to earlier as the spirit. I think it's the spirit that now thinks, but it's not thinking, it's contemplation. So the small I dissolved, that's the ego mind. The big I, universal I, took over, and that's what is doing the contemplation. Because there's one thing they can choose from this perspective. From kinesiology and testing, and if you just look at kinesiology as this whole framework of this is true. You go strong, it's true. You go weak, it's not. That's the framework we're working within here and speaking about. So kinesiology proved that. The mind dissolved, yes, and then the spirit took over, and it is the one contemplating. It's the same thing as thought, but there's no thoughts popping up randomly. It is the universal I acting to me, which is the only thing that can choose an existence. There's no choosing, as there's no personal will in radical subjectivity. Frame it how you want to. So it can choose through this flesh, through this animal body. And I am the universal I. Good job, it was small I, if not ish. If you want to go to the deep end of the radical subjectivity, you say just I am with capital I. I'm not going to do it because something crazy is going to happen when I do it, so I'm not going to do it yet. But when I do it in spirit, boom. I'm in heaven. You might reference it as. I have so much to talk about. Yeah, so ability 1, mind is silent, I contemplate with spirit. So I can use all the logic stuff if I want to. But yeah. And you do that just to really do well in the world of forms, really. If you don't care about that, then yeah. Another ability, which is the one I'm most satisfied with, is I no longer see the world through the ego. I see things as they are. David R. Hawkins, as well as explained that not briefly, in detail actually, in his books and works, that he's experienced the same. Or, you know what, I want to preface this, that this might all just be a mentalization. So I'm just going to surrender everything to it. It seems real. And yeah, but this is what I'm experiencing subjectively, so it's just fine. I want to share it because I think it's real. And I think that's pure and good because I just want to help. And that intention by itself is powerful. Silent mind. Contemplation is within that and by spirit. And I actually see things as they are. Previously, what I was suffering from was I would see random events in the world happening, and the mind would just go to, oh, this is how this person is. This is how this person is, without me knowing anything about them. It was just always this judging everything. I'm always framing it so negatively and so bizarrely off, and never how I wanted to look at anything, which says enough by itself to know that it ain't you. So by that illusion disappearing, in trading and everything I do, it's now really clear that this is a book, this is a leg of a body, this is a tree, and ES and NQ is going higher today. This is a framework I can use to risk this and gain that. Doesn't matter if I win or lose, no, it's completely erroneous. Why? The process which I'm following yields money over time, over statistics, over what I do, just by being me and following this process of my subjective experience and experience of the market and me managing risk within a rigid framework. That's trading profitability, by the way, if you haven't ever wondered about it, or my version of it, and do it how you want. So I could actually see things how they are now. It's not the mind or ego interpreting, oh, this person said this to me, so it must mean that that person hates me. Like that stuff it did. It's so silly. And it's just self-suffering. Because did that have any reality? How I look at it is, if you can surrender something, just completely let go of it. And it dissolves with zero effort. There's never any effort. It just, I can show you. I let go of this book. This is kind of not the best idea. It's fine. It's like this. I let go of it. It's like no force. I just completely let go of it. It never was any force or something like that. So if you do that and something dissolves just completely with no effort, how is that not real? That is what this entire framework basically is based upon. Like, you let something go. Okay. It doesn't come back. It's gone. It's dissolved. How is that not real? Please, if somebody can answer that, explain it to me, because for me, that is real. Because I literally just surrendered all of it and I found peace, happiness, joy, love, presence. And the amount of happiness and joy I have day to day, it's not always like it, because something forgets and it's still being integrated. But like, I want to say 95% or like 98. I'm so happy, joyful, loving, and everything is just so wonderful. And that leads me automatically to the third thing again, because again, the silent mind, the mind dissolved. I contemplate within that spirit now, which is how I view it. I could see things as they are. And that, of course, leads me to that I could see the perfection of reality in every single moment. And the beauty and grandiosity and sacredness of all of life. And how perfect everything is. So if I sit and meditate, for example, and just relax and let go, tears come because everything is so perfect. And that unwillingness to do anything comes about. Well, it's not an unwillingness, it's simply knowing that everything is perfect and it's always been like this. So it's a recognition and beingness of knowing that everything was always perfect, but you simply didn't see it. And that is probably one of the most beautiful gifts one would ever have. Because everything is so beautiful. Yeah, like every time tears come and it's just like, well, it was like this all along? What? And you just fill up with joy, happiness, and everything is just perfect. And you tend to smile and laugh a lot. Wow. Happy I could share that. So there's more stuff I gained. What was that then? Yeah, I'm still getting used to using this stuff. Oh yeah, that's another topic. But yeah, like reintegration of doing stuff is kind of weird. Yeah, it's super weird. Because when you know stuff, it's super weird. Well, it's never me doing anything, so it's what it is. But witness or being aware of it is what I'm referencing, of course. But you know that. I've explained that enough. What more was gained from this subjective journey? I'm not done with the book even, and I still have the last one. This book calibrated at 980, last book is 999.8. So that should be something. Tao, which I've been reading, is 1,000. So Tao is really cool. It's fun. It's really fun. It's just poetry. It's Chinese poetry. Off topic again. So, what more did I gain? Yeah, it's a carefree state of being, as Mark Douglas would say. It's a carefree state of being. It's a carefree state of being. Completely. Because it's a knowingness that whatever happens, the universe will provide. And it was always that. But again, you now see it. Well, you don't see it. That's language. You know. You know. You know that you are. Thus, that is natural. So, there is never any worries or negative, or what the world would call negative. Oh, hi, little wasp. It's okay. It's never anything the world would call negative that's experienced, because you are this abundance of love. So even like the worst thing could happen in worldly terms, and I'd be happy. It wouldn't affect anything. There's for sure more that's happened. It would be a cease of all suffering, of course. You see things as they are, the mind is silent, it's done, it's gone, the ego is gone. The small I, which is the ego, dissolved, the big universal I took over, which is you and me and all of us. One sees the perfection of every moment, and one knows what is and what is not. I can really sum it up like this. Everything is perfect. Everything is perfect. In all aspects. Even I have the moments of being lost, like I felt it like last night. Because the worldly formful things, or in the world of forms, things happen, and something forgets that things are as they are in subjective reality. But I again think that's a reintegration thing, that too will dissolve, frankly. And you'll just be in a state of bliss all the time. Which is pretty fun, of course. See, that's really my experience with it. Maybe everything is just wrong and I'm silly. that can be the case. But I'm at least having a lot of fun, and I'm not suffering. And I'm joyful and happy all the time. Always smiling, basically. Unless if something forgets about something. Everything in life is just wonderful. Everything is progressing really how I want it, but it's not me wanting anything. That was the thing I was going to talk about. Yeah, as the ego dissolves, you want nothing. You want nothing because you see the perfection in every moment of existence. So you automatically, there's no wants anymore. The body is just moving out of its functions of doing stuff, and that is that. Like, there might be, previously for me, there was a want for money, want for love, want for self-worth, want for stuff, and all of that is dissolved because one sees things as they are as one. It comes back to that. One knows that one is. And then there is no want that exists. But his body still operates here in the world of form. So it's natural for it to do stuff. For the karmic potential of fulfilling itself. But it was always completely impersonal because it never had anything to do with you. Or me. Or anyone, really. That's what I've kind of realized. And that's basically the biggest superpower, because I used to get into my own head about things. And now the mind is silent, so the body just does stuff and things happen, okay? And it's always beneficial to somebody, and it's always uplifting to somebody, and it's always really fruitful, fun, enjoyable, and something is always gained for somebody in a wonderful manner. So it's just always positive and fun. But yeah, I wanted to read a chapter, or did I? Probably not. Because I don't like, about personal will, spirituality, spiritual destiny, karma, choice, personal responsibility. I want to read to you about all of these things. It's not a lot, but it's a few pages. So I'm currently on page 310. Hopefully you can see it approximately. We are reading in chapter, what would it be? Karma, Guru and Sage. Karma, Guru and Sage. Which naturally will be chapter 16, Karma, Guru and Sage, which calibrates super high. It's the highest calibrated. I don't know if it's the highest. It's probably the second highest or something along those lines. Because in the book, in the appendix in the book, he has already pre-calibrated all the chapters. And you can just confirm it through live here if you want to. Yeah, the highest one at 994 is the nature of God. That one was fun. We're on 16, so that would be 985, which is the second highest. Yeah, that's correct. 985, yeah. So the chapter we're reading from calibrated 985. So in this book, this chapter, I have it in spirit, calibrated 985, 986, 985. Yeah, 986. No, it calibrated 985. It calibrated 986. Calibrated 985. This is another way to do it. You interlock. The chapter calibrated 980. I have permission to ask this resist. This chapter calibrated 985. Karma Guru. Resist. Yeah. Calibrated 986. No, 985. Yeah, there we go. So it calibrated 985. So that's truthful. Within, of course, the subjective perspective and framework we are working within here that I'm sharing with you. I hope it's interesting. So I'm just going to read a bit to you, frankly, because I think it's a fun perspective. I should do that first then. You know, a 48-minute file. Hey man, that's a lot. I want to show you the card though. Okay. Oh, it's so close. Okay. But it's a really cool card. That's the Espion card. And this is the third eye chakra card. It's not really, but I call it that. It's a psychic energy card in reality. Now it's kind of warm. It's fine though. I like it. So, let's read. So, in this part of the book, it is questions and his answer. Answer of David R. Hawkins. In this framework, he calibrates at 1000. We didn't claim enlightenment or anything, nor do I. Because there never is anything to claim when you know stuff. But there's nothing to know either, so there we go. Hi little ant, how are you? We have a bit of an ant infested back garden, but we're friends, so it's cool. They like to climb on my legs and such. It's fine. We're all friends. sacred in their own way. Note, from David R. Hawkins' subjective experience, he has also noted other things that he's experienced when he reached 1,000. If you want to read it. It's pretty fun. But then again, that's subjective. I think it's fun. So the question is, spiritual destiny or karma then is set by choice and personal responsibility. His answer then is quite lengthy, but I will read it to you. The most powerful determining factor is intention and decision of the spiritual will. Here, I think spiritual will would be the big I going through the individual and choosing. The idea that contextualization and thought or action set up an energy pattern of a calibrated level of power versus force is the basis of the spiritual path called karma yoga, which means that all actions can be sanctified by the dedication to God. All actions and thoughts is what he's referring to here. Even the simplest action, such as peeling a potato, can be accomplished by resentment or by devotion to life out of joy, knowing that one is supporting life through life. Now this is, I forget where in the Bible, but I'm very confident Jesus had said something similar. Jesus, of course, calibrated on 1,000. His story was really interesting, because via kinesiology I tested that he was born into this world without an ego mind. So that's the only individual that's done that. But yeah, it's the intention, like I'm doing right now to you. This is hilarious. I'm having so much fun there. Hope you're having fun too. But I'm very confident that it's the intention that matters, the spiritual intention. I agree with what he's saying here, because it's the spiritual intention. It could be whatever, because it is you that has the intention to do something, or not the intention, but it's like, I intend to do this with this action that occurs, even though it's spontaneity and all that jazz. I intend to do this. I intend to. It's not want, because I intend to. For me here, I intend to help you with my subjective experience of what I have experienced here in this life. To uplift, help, share truth and joy and happiness and cease suffering. And share my experience with you, so you might not have to go through this really horrible things that I had to go through. So I think that intention of I want to help you, or I have compassion for all life, or all of these things, which one is very powerful. Further then, the answer ain't done, I just spoke. In gratitude for the gift of life, one dedicates that life back as a gift to God, through selfless service to His creation as all of life. With this dedication, one validates the sacredness of all life and treats it with respect. When we stop to assist a helpless beetle with a twig so it can turn over its back and resume life, the entire universe knows it and responds. Here comes karma, or the universal I that knows everything. You help lift a beetle up and flip it on its right side so it might move again. It knows it. You might do the simplest of things and greet another individual, say hi to your neighbor, tell your mom how much you care for her. These acts from love, from fellowship, from compassion for your fellow human or fellow being of existence, are counted. It's the same thing as when Jesus said all hairs are counted on your head. It's the same thing. Everything is known. All wonderful actions and all actions that could not be better, but it could be more fruitful, more uplifting, coming from a pure state, so you might help someone instead of dragging them down. So, let's continue. It ain't done yet. Then comes this perspective. To acknowledge and support the value of all life supports one's own. You reap what you sow. What is part of life? Oh, which is part of life? What is generally meant by the term soul is the capacity to experience life. The self, with capital S, shines forth as awareness of existence in all that lives. Universal I. Synonyms. The deer and all animals enjoy their lives to the same degree as people do. People here in reference to body. Probably. They derive joy from their existence and experience of life. Here comes an example. There's a documentary film about the lives of giant otters in the wilds of Peru. They are territorial. In the movie, a lone male who had a whole lake to himself was filmed. It stayed all alone for months, and finally the filmmaker's patience was rewarded when another otter discovered and appeared in the lake. The film showed the meeting of these two lonely otters and their joy of finding each other, which was overwhelming. They did endless somersaults and dances together out of their pleasure and happiness. Their joy was stunning and even obvious to the most ignorant of people. Whether animals are capable or not of linear logic and its what does that word mean? And its concomitant languaging is really irrelevant. What is significant is that on the level at which life is actually lived. He referenced then the subjective. The experience of animals and their joy in life is equal to that of humans. So to expand on that, within this framework, that's a statement and that's a truth. Because when you think of it, if we're not our bodies, then what's referred here as humans is then the body. And then all life is equal. Thus, everyone enjoys life the same way. If everything is out of spontaneity, everything enjoys itself in the same way, pleasure and all of it in life. That's simple. There was one more question and answer. That is one answer done. So that was the answer. It really expands a lot. That was the answer of the question of spiritual destiny or karma. Then is set by choice and personal responsibility. Which the short answer would be yes. Where intention is a strong determining factor of what consequences occur spiritually. This one is what I wanted to read. There's a little ant again. Hi, ant. Okay. Here comes question 2, which is even more fun. It's a bit of a lengthy one, so bear with me. It is then asked, is it necessary to have a guru? Some spiritual traditions say it is. And here comes the answer that I really want you to think about and let sink deep. Careful, little ant. So let this sink deep. Everyone already has a guru. The self with capital S. So what is referred to here is within. Everyone has that connection to what you might call God, the universal I, the oneness, which is what takes over when the ego dissolves. By this perspective. It is always by this perspective. It is not opinionated, it is simply from this perspective within this framework, this is what that truth says it is. Everyone might disagree or agree with it, but choose your own. So to elaborate on this, how could you paraphrase it? You already have all your answers within yourself. I might be here tugging on your shoulder, saying certain words that resonate with you, so that you might realize something which will then enable you to go within and improve yourself. Or by this book recommendation, or it's not a recommendation, read the books you want to, that you're attracted to. I think that's a better one. By that, it's the same dynamic of you already have all the answers, you know everything, but I am giving you a tug, a friendly tug, or a guiding arrow, or as a friend or a brother or a sister or whatever you want to think of it. As a friend, I'm telling you, this is my experience, and it might resonate with you, it might resonate with some, and it might resonate with no one. Both are fine, because I am sharing my experience. I'm trying to help and uplift you as an individual watching this. By connecting us with me sharing my subjective experience, and you might leave a comment or like the video or not be here and watch it, or watch it. But it is really that statement of there is no guru, there is nothing to seek outside. It's like Papaji said in, I haven't watched this documentary, but the title is Call of the Search. What does that tell you? It tells you that there's nothing to seek externally. There's no wants. Everything can be found within. And if I can help you see that same thing, then that is a job well done. Even if it's just one person. And that person could be me, because I'm helping myself right now. I hope it's you though, and I hope it's maybe more than one person, but if it ain't, then that's a job well done, I think. So, what does that tell you? It's already a success, as I'm recording this. So what a wonderful realization that is. There's nothing to seek outside. You have all the answers inside. You might read a book, you might watch a TV show, you might have a conversation with a family member or a friend, or you might watch me or somebody else. And it might spark genius in you. It might give you a spark of inspiration or something along these lines, which enable you to recognize something within yourself. And all of a sudden you've elevated yourself and you've improved yourself, and you're now all of a sudden happy and joyful in all you do in life. So that was really that I wanted to share. There's more stuff, but I think that's enough. That's like the primary thing I wanted to share when I read it, I saw it, and I was like, I want to share this with everyone. Because I searched on YouTube and not a lot of people have talked about this book. Nobody, basically. 2 people, 3 maybe. There was this audiobook thing and another podcast thing. So, spread the word. Fun book. Yeah. And isn't that a wonderful realization in itself? That you already have all the answers within yourself. Maybe you can see them now, or maybe not quite yet. Regardless, if you're seeing this, you're probably on the perfect path for you. So, without further said or do, I am gonna sign out. As always, peace. Ooh, it's warm.